We're overwhelmed with college football right now, and the only person who can pull us out of the depths is our guest today from ESPN, the SEC Network, the host of the Paul Finebaum Show, the one and only one of our favorites, Paul Finebaum. Paul, welcome back. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. It feels like home. I just vaguely remember 3 months ago sitting in a studio in Charlotte talking about the end of the DeBoer era at Alabama with you guys. And look at us now.
End of the world now, depending on what happens out in Norman. But look, Paul, you're quoting Shakespeare on ESPN right now. You cited Macbeth to Mike Greenberg on Get Up while you were talking about Notre Dame's historic hissy fit happening right now. I mean, things are a little weird at the moment in college football, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, how would you be reacting if Alabama didn't get in? I'm like going, well, I mean, it happened. It's only happened about 2 out of the last 5 years that Alabama was the last school left out. I mean, we know that, but I think everybody just thinks that Alabama is the only prism that we see anything through. And listen, Alabama couldn't have looked any worse Saturday afternoon in Atlanta, but that doesn't mean they should be denied a chance to win again in the college football playoffs. So it's never dull after the CFP, but this year, probably not to the degree of the FSU outrage, but because it was Notre Dame, more people paid attention.
Focusing on Kalen DeBoer, Paul, you were adamant that there was no real smoke with the Kalen DeBoer Penn State chatter. He was fairly emphatic in shutting it down. He said, let's just put this to bed right now. He's obviously focused on building what he can at Alabama, and his team is in the playoff. So that's obviously an improvement from last season, but it was obviously by the skin of their teeth too. And it's a rematch against the team that already beat them. How important is this game for Kalen DeBoer and his future at Alabama?
And how many times has somebody said this is the most important game in Kalen DeBoer's career? But that was the Auburn game, but this feels pretty important. And I'll tell you why. Getting in the playoffs was the minimum that Kalen DeBoer had to do this year, and he did get in. But losing this game would just feel like last year all over again. What does it mean? It means the last two games went down. It means for the second year in a row, Alabama has lost 4 games. That's probably going to happen anyway at some point, unless Alabama wins the national championship. But it just feels like this is really a big moment for him to finally finish off all the criticism. And he did such a great job of that, but he also let it get away. And that's the frustration with Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a really good coach. He's more he more feels and looks like the Alabama coach now than he did on Labor Day. But I would strongly advise him to win this game.
I hope he's listening, Paul. You know, he had the playoff right in front of him last year, and they blew it in a blowout loss against unranked Oklahoma. And they nearly blew it again when they didn't even show up in Atlanta hardly in a game that they obviously could afford to lose, but they are in. I said it earlier. His second season was better than the first technically, but I mean, how much credit does Kalen DeBoer deserve just for getting to the playoff this year, or does it all go out the window if they lose this game?
I don't think it's completely a lost season, but it's a longer off season, and we have to change the calculus that we view Alabama football. Ben, I've walked out of stadiums, and I know you have too, after Alabama has lost a national championship game or a semifinal, and it really felt like the end of the world. And now we're trying to figure out, is it a successful season if Kalen DeBoer wins the first game in the playoff? That would never be a standard previously, but it is now because it was such a long journey to get to the playoffs. So I think Alabama football deserves better than trying to be the 10th, 11th, 12th team in the CFP. But that will be addressed at a different point. I think when you look at the chaos of college football recently, Alabama is in a good position, but we still don't know how great. So I think a win and then sets up a dramatic January 1st game, a loss, and I think it's going to be another painful offseason where Kalen DeBoer has to figure out, do I have the right people around? Am I doing it correctly? Because losing 8 games in 2 seasons, I know I'm jumping ahead a week and a half, but took a while for Nick Saban to lose 8 games. And I realized he lost, what, 5 his first year, but that was not something that happened very often.
Well, not to dwell on this dark timeline of if Alabama loses this game, what happens to Kalen DeBoer, but nobody's more connected to SEC fan bases than you are, perhaps no more than your connection to Alabama. Looking at Alabama through the fan prism, if he loses, even if he wins and he makes the Rose Bowl and he gets to play the top ranked team in the program, I mean, whichever outcome, how do you think the fans feel about DeBoer right now?
Yeah, I think they're very mixed right now. I mean, there was some genuine anger coming out of Atlanta. I mean, I picked Alabama to win. I had somebody accost me Sunday, like, I mean, I said, calm down. A lot of people picked Alabama to win that game, but it was just the way it happened. And I think another loss. I think the fan base would be very split on, is this guy the right person? Now I know that we're doing a lot of jumping ahead, but that's college football conversation. A win doesn't end all that, but it just win. I mean, let me direct you toward Tennessee last year. They lost in the playoffs and got nothing out of the season. It was such a bad loss. It wasn't. I've been in Knoxville recently. I don't see any CFP banners hanging. Georgia lost the first time it played, even though it won the SEC. It was a terrible finish to the season. Some of it, I think, losing to Oklahoma again would be about as bad a way as you could wrap this thing up. I mean, it could be worse. You could lose to JMU or Tulane, but pretty bad.
And more on the G5 in a minute, Paul. I want to focus on Alabama for just a couple more. How would you describe what you've seen from Ty Simpson this year and down this very important stretch where Alabama has really needed him most and he has just regressed?
Yeah, no, he doesn't look like the same quarterback. It looks like the real Ty Simpson has had to go back to wherever he came from, and the fake Ty Simpson is in charge. I mean, it's there are a lot of reasons for it. I mean, no, there's no doubt he's banged up. He's got there are a lot of injuries, but we're trending toward the middle of December right now. Everybody is in trouble in that regard. But I'm fairly shocked by his play. Is he being given the right plays by Ryan Grubb? Doesn't look like it. Ty Simpson with or without Jam Miller is an interesting exercise. And he's not the same quarterback. His receivers have not helped him a lot, and it's hard to get a lot of confidence in him going into this game.
Paul, he obviously played himself out of this, but who wins the Heisman on Saturday?
It will be Mendoza, and it's not who I voted for. I voted for Diego Pavia, #1, and every time I say that, I run the risk of having my vote revoked because they tell you cannot. But I've never believed. Why does it have to be a secret? So this may be the last time I'm ever asked who I voted for in the Heisman. And
I'm honored.
And if I don't get asked back to the Heisman committee, something tells me I'll get over it.
We'll always ask you back, Paul. And I agree with you. Diego Pavia is probably the pick this year. The SEC has they had 3 teams make the playoff last year. It was kind of like, considered this big embarrassment for the conference. They've got 5 in 2025. Other than Georgia, is there an SEC team that you see making a run to win it all?
I mean, A&M is possible. I mean, A&M is a sneaky good team, but it's always hard to bet on A&M. But no, I think Georgia is it. I think Alabama. Have you heard this before? It really has a good setup. I've heard that. I'm not sure I believe it. So I think it's pretty much Georgia is the one that could get to the finals. And by the way, that's a whole other conversation. If the SEC does not win the national championship and either Indiana or Ohio State does, that creates a whole nother conversation for the conference.
Feels like a long time since we were saying Alabama might not be the best team, but they can beat any team. I don't think anybody really feels that way. Paul, you have not minced words about the G5 inclusion in this 12-team bracket. And there's obviously a collective uproar over the format in general. Do you see the 12-team playoff surviving as is after all this? Will it expand to 16? Like, what's the next step in the evolution of the playoff?
I think the only way to do it is to go to 16. The hard part is explaining to people why there is one G5, and this year two. This year is easy to explain why there's two, but I don't really understand why there's one. And every time I say that on ESPN, I get hate. I mean, I've got a lot of hate tweets and social media reaction, but this week seems to be in another stratosphere. Because I told the truth the other day when I said they do not belong. They're not among the. Yeah, I'm well aware Tulane beat Southern Cal in a meaningless bowl game a couple of years ago. I'm well aware Memphis beat Arkansas. I mean, people that write in and you deal with a digital site, then we are aware of these things. I don't want to be uppity here, but we all follow college football the same way you do at home in grandma's basement in South Bend, Indiana, or at wherever JMU is. So we know all that. That doesn't mean that they belong, because this should be the 12 best. It's not. And it's comical when a school like Notre Dame, I hate to defend them, but I will, or even BYU or Vanderbilt or Texas has to sit home or go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl or whatever bowl game there are, while you send James Madison to lose by 35 or Tulane to lose by 28. I don't want to watch those games.
Nobody would ever accuse you of being uppity, Paul, just for the record. We joke a lot on this show about how the 2017 Iron Bowl didn't matter. Alabama lost to Auburn. They end up making the 14 playoff and winning it all. Now all the chatter about the conference championship games and all this playoff talk could be true for Alabama again if they made a run. Let's say, hypothetically, they lost to Georgia by 21, but they're in the playoff with a chance to win it all. Do you see a future where conference championship games are out of the picture?
Yes, I do. It's going to be difficult because the people that run the Big Ten, the ACC, the Big 12, the SEC, they're traditionalists. But it's been 2 years in a row. I've been on that field at the beginning of the game. You just haven't felt it. The vibe's not there. I was sitting with Tebow on our set right before the game started, and I just said, the feeling here versus 08, 09, when the entire world surrounded around those two games. I mean, those were the national championship games. So it's pretty disappointing, but there is a lot of money. And by the way, 16 million watched the SEC game and 18 million. Those are the biggest two numbers of the year in college football. So it's a little bit hard to say they're going away with so much money being made and so many people watching. But they should go away. I would have much preferred watching Texas and Vanderbilt playing on Saturday, or Texas and Alabama, or however you wanted to do it, as a play-in to the college football playoff.
Paul, you mentioned it potentially expanding to 16. With the SEC specifically, what do you think Greg Sankey wants from the playoff if the format is changed?
Well, I think he's pretty happy this year because a lot of conversation went into getting those 5 SEC schools. But I think you have to come up with a universal conference championship game tiebreaker, and I think it has to be the highest ranked teams. That would have eliminated the absolute farce that we had in Charlotte with the ACC, and that's really what this is about. I understand that there's some head-to-head tiebreakers that could eliminate certain schools, but I think that's what you just have to go with that ultimately on the Sunday, on the Tuesday before. The problem is you can't do it like we're doing it, because you can't wait till Tuesday night to set your SEC game. It has to be done much sooner than that. So it's a little bit complicated, but there has to be universal there, and ultimately I think that's going to be the main thing. I mean, Notre Dame's already grandfathered in next year in the same position they are here. So what is going to possibly change?
Well, what about bowl season for that matter? I mean, Notre Dame opted out. Several others have since they did. But, you have Clark Lee making a statement that Vanderbilt won't opt out. They like playing football. Eli Drinkwitz, too, recently saying the playoff or bust attitude is hurting college football. Do you think that we see an uptick in the opt-out trend? Or bowls an endangered species?
They are, and I'm not going to be one of those older guys who say, "Oh man, I can't believe what's happened to the bowl system," because it's been happening for a long time. The problem is that they're still valuable to ESPN. Ben, I promise you, on December 27th, 28th, 29th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, we'll be at a Christmas party, we'll be home, ESPN will be on, and there's a game on. Doesn't matter who's playing, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter whether the first or second or third team quarterback is in. We're still going to watch the game. But they just don't mean much in terms of the way they used to. 25, 35, 45 years ago, people planned their Christmas around the bowl games. It was a big deal. If you were in the Sugar Bowl or Cotton Bowl, whatever bowl, now it's just not a big deal. The playoff has overwhelmed that. And, the Birmingham Bowl, the Mobile Bowl, all these other bowls that are on, they're struggling to get anyone in there. And it's really a drain on the local community and the sponsors and the volunteers to make it work, because people aren't coming to the games.
One last Alabama question here. You mentioned it's the holidays, right? If you're Alabama, if you're Kalen DeBoer, if you're the fans, what's at the top of your wish list right now? What do you like? You open that box. What do you want to be there? How can what do they need to improve their situation for the near and long term?
Yeah, maybe then we could start with finding a running back for next season. Is that too much to ask? A guy that can get more than 3 yards. I swear you could go to the walk-ons in Alabama and find one guy to get in here and make 5 yards. That was by far the biggest glaring weakness. I think the defense was outstanding. I think at times the offensive line played well, not all the time. I would like to see 19-year-old Ryan Williams, assuming he's still at Alabama next year, become 17-year-old Ryan Williams. Those are a couple of things. I've covered Alabama football since the end of Bryant. I don't ever remember a season this bewildering, because everything we said after the first game, we were also saying after the 13th game, but we weren't saying it almost anywhere in between.
Yeah, great choices. And maybe it's a combo gift and you get an offensive coordinator who will give the running back the ball. Paul, we'll get you out of here on this. Since you're in the business of quoting William Shakespeare on national television right now, if you'll indulge us with a little more wordplay, I'm not going to ask you to quote any more sonnets or anything like that, but we've asked you to do this before. I'm going to list some of the top head coaches in college football. I'm only going to ask you to give me one word that best fits them in their current situation. Is that okay with you?
Let's go.
Kalen DeBoer.
Steady.
Very interesting. Okay. Lane Kiffin.
Child.
I won't ask you to expand there. Alex Golesh.
Fascinating.
Why fascinating, Paul?
I just love his backstory. I thought he handled his opening press conference with great poise. And I am amazingly excited about him. I just think everything about him is interesting.
John Summerall.
Who? No, I'm kidding. I think John Summerall I would describe as consistent.
See, I was going to ask you about the Arkansas coach, but I thought I would get the same response that you just gave me. So I'll move on. Pete Golding.
Shocking that he's the head coach at Ole Miss, but the answer would be an enigma. Well, it's 2 words. I'm sorry. Enigma.
How about Marcus Freeman?
Brilliant.
Oh, interesting. Maybe he'll stay brilliant in college football and not, I don't know, for the New York Giants or whomever might have an opening. All right. Paul, Curt Cignetti.
Annoying.
Well, okay. I must ask, why annoying?
There's something about this guy that has continued to get on my nerves. He has done probably the greatest coaching job of all time, but he's still annoying.
Okay, a few more here, Paul. James Franklin.
Bewildering.
And there are still some interesting names here that aren't even coaching at the moment. Brian Kelly.
Arrogant.
Okay. Hugh Freeze.
Laughable.
3 more, Paul. Josh Heupel.
Josh Heupel, I would say, is average.
All right. 2 more. Bill Belichick.
Disastrous.
Okay. Last one. Dabo Swinney.
Grandpa.
I didn't say Phillip Rivers, Paul. I said Dabo Swinney. Hey, Paul, Incredible stuff. You're the man. Watch and listen on ESPN and the SEC Network. One of the all-time greats. We love you, man. Paul Finebaum, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much.